Executive session. Mr. Rowan, is there anything to report?
No, sir.
With that, please rise for the invocation and the pledge.
Bow your heads. Heavenly Father, thank you for getting us all here safely tonight, granting us the wisdom to hear each other out and patience with one another. All of our personnel, but especially our safety personnel.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Two sets of minutes for review tonight. Has the board had a chance to review those minutes?
Yeah.
May 14th. Any corrections from the board?
I have none.
I had one typo that was on page 4 that I already alerted Ms. Harlow to.
Thank you.
With Trustee Reinhardt's correction, is there a motion to approve May 14th's minutes? So moved.
Second.
Mr. Dieters?
Aye.
Ms. Reinhardt?
Aye.
Mr. Bitter?
Aye. May 28th.
I have no changes.
Trustee Ritter? None. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Dieters?
Aye.
Ms. Reinhardt?
Aye.
Mr. Bitter?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Police reports. Lieutenant?
Good evening. For the month of May, the Sheriff's Department reports 86 traffic citations issued from May 1st through May 31st. During this rating period, there were 33 cases assigned to detectives for investigation in Colerain Township. 13 of those cases were closed by detectives. There was $8,660 of stolen property recovered during this reporting period. And then during the month of May, there were 0 arrests for DUI.
Thank you. Chief?
Good evening. As a reminder that May was the Click It or Ticket enforcement month to enhance the wearing of the seatbelt, and we're an active participant in that. During the month of May, officers issued 676 citations and made 2 arrests for OVI. So that's all we got.
Thanks, Chief.
All right, sir.
Trustees report. Trustee Reinhardt.
I have nothing to add this evening.
Trustee Ritter.
I got a few things. First, 2 weeks ago, I was at a civic luncheon downtown, and I had the pleasure to sit next to the executive director of CMHA. And while I've made no secret of my dislike of the proliferation of Section 8 in Colerain Township over the last few years, we did have a constructive chat, especially about ways we could collaborate more and share services. And one idea that came up as we talked through some of the pain points for each of us was property maintenance. And I don't know if anybody knows it or not, but they have a dedicated staff of people that drive through the entire county where all their properties are and observe the property maintenance to make sure it's adhering to their standards. And so the idea would be that, especially during the spring and summer and our painful periods of property maintenance, that we could come to some accommodation with them and use them as a resource to supplement our own property maintenance process. And it would be a nominal fee, in his words, but nevertheless, I think it is something we could pursue. In my mind, this has taken, somewhat of a negative and turning it into a positive and trying to create a synergy out of it. So Greg Johnson was very receptive to the idea, and I would encourage Mr. Rowan if you could give him a call this week and follow up on that and see if it has legs, and we'll go from there. And then the only other thing I have tonight is just some retrospective comments on the town hall last week. Really just 2 areas that I wanted to comment about. The first is this notion that people haven't been hearing a vision from the board. I would argue that we've been yelling the vision loud and clear over the last 2 years since the state cuts came, which was that we were going to look internally and hire a new leader to drive efficiencies and change within, to try to look wherever we could for cost savings opportunities and reductions of non-essential services. And when we got to the point where we reached that point where we were going to be, digging in really deep into muscle and cutting off, core services of the township, increasing response times and that type of thing, at that point we would go to the citizens and have a discussion about what it would look like if we continue to cut versus other options. That's what last week was about. So we've been yelling that loud and clear. Mr. Rowan has been yelling that loud and clear to our employees through incessant communication. And so I would say, for those who disagree with the vision, well, that's fine. That's what we have elections for. You can vote for somebody else. However, if you refuse to listen or just don't hear the vision, you have to have accountability for that, and that falls in their lap. So that's one thing on that. And then, a former trustee made comments about, lack of leadership and everything. And I would just say we all have definitions of what good looks like. I'm a conservative Republican. I'm proud of it. He happens to be a liberal Democrat. His definition of leadership is taxing our citizens to death and solving 100% of the problem through nothing but revenue enhancements. And I just don't agree with that. 2 years ago, when the state cuts came down, I suggested that we start looking internally for cost savings opportunities. And the mere thought of even cutting so much as a paperclip was offensive to him. And so we just have it doesn't make him a bad person. It doesn't make me a bad person. We just have a different idea of what good looks like and how to lead the township. So, it all depends on your perspective and what your philosophy is. So that's it. Thanks.
Thank you. I will give my 2 cents on the town hall briefly, and again commend our residents for their input. This is a challenging time for the board, and to be able to engage with the residents has always been a priority for this board and myself. So I'm appreciative. I'll be completely frank and say that I'm disappointed in some of the rhetoric. I think that in our political environment, it's common, and you see this a lot on the national level, but unfortunately it's trickled into local government, where the political debate becomes reinforcing your own position instead of reaching out a hand of compromise and asking the other side to say, okay, where do we find a middle ground here? And that's the hard part about our job. We have some residents who want to come up and look at a certain issue and with absolute blockers on without looking at the big picture here. And when we make a decision about what we do at the senior center, what we do with our summer camps, what we do with our fire service, what we do with our police service, all the way down to how the administration is run, every decision made by this board takes all of that into account. You can't just say, this one thing is important. And at the end of the day, the final analysis is what's in the best interest of these residents, what's in the best interest of Colerain Township. That's a frustrating point for me, and I know that goes with the territory. I've got big shoulders, and I'm willing to take the criticism, but I would encourage our residents to understand that this board is committed to this township. There's no other reason we'd be here. The best interest of everyone from top to bottom is at heart, and when we make those tough decisions, it's out of a spirit of compromise. It has absolutely it's absolutely based in the hope that we're doing what's right for the township. So I am discouraged that some residents, and I'm sure they're the vocal minority, because the residents I talk to feel differently about most of those issues, would rather reinforce their own position than actually put their mind to and roll up their sleeves and find solutions. And that's the hard part of this job. And I would encourage our residents to continue the conversation. I'm not at all concerned that the direction of the township is anything but bright. And I'm happy to say that these are probably our finest times, because we're making some tremendous decisions on making this place not only a good place to live, but a good place for our children to live and their children to live. And that needs to be the focus. So Mr. Rowan will give you some more information on what was the result of the survey, but I wanted to give the residents my perspective on it and let everyone know that we'll continue to fight. Thank you. Mr. Rowan.
Thank you, Mr. Dieters. as we discussed at the town hall meeting, that was really the continued conversation of the meeting we had on January 22nd, as we attempted to strike balance in achieving financial sustainability. And, achieving financial sustainability where budgets are total aligned, as we discussed at this last town hall meeting, would be detrimental to many of the services we offer in the township. So the survey that was offered for those that participated that evening, the spirit of that was to capture the value component of those various services. And I'd just like to reflect, and I did send these results. By the way, the results were gathered by the chair of the Financial Advisory Committee and tallied by him or his firm. I did not see the results until he sent them to me, but I would like to at least reflect on what those results were, and I did supply that to Jenny Key with the Northwest Press today. As we look at the value component, as we look at the community center and our senior center, if you consider 1 being the minimum value and 5 being the maximum value, what I did in at least trying to analyze this is recognizing that you could group these from 3 to 5, meaning that 3 is average, 5 is the high. What I really wanted to take away is how do people really value these services. So I even took 3 out of the equation just to look at the top 2 categories. Who believes that the maximum value of 4 and 5 was important? And as it relates to the senior community center, 70.7% of the respondents said either a 4 or 5 for the community center. 70.7%, either 4 or 5, value our park system as it relates to the community events, concerts, movies, Taste of Colerain. 83.1%, access to playgrounds, spray grounds, walking paths, and shelters. 79.2% dealing with nuisance issues such as tall grass, litter, etc. Some may say, well, what does nuisance issues have to do with our park system? Well, through our internal shared services model, we're utilizing our parks employees to be able to abate those tall grass and litter things that do have a negative impact in our neighborhoods. What value to place on our public works department? Street repair and maintenance, 86.7%. Snow removal, 83.8%. Do you support the balanced approach? What value do you place on our police protective services? 88%. Do you think staffing and coverage provided by the police department is adequate? 58% said yes, it's adequate. We talked about the levy potential, whether you cut $500,000 as presented, you cut $1 million, you consider $1.5 million this year, or you use $1 million in reserves. This wasn't as clear cut. 50.8% said, let's go on with the $1.5 million levy this year. 35.4% said, let's use $1 million in a reserve fund and wait till next year and consider a higher level or a higher levy. What value do you place on our fire and EMS services? 92.9% rated level 4 and 5. Do you think the staffing and coverage provided by the fire EMS department is adequate? 74.1% said yes. We talked about Mr. Smith's plan to stretch the levy to 2018 and implement cuts associated with various programs, but not necessarily impact the first responders in the field. 54.5% said don't make any cuts at all. 26% said implement the proposed cuts. 19.5% said reduce response time by increasing responders throughout the township. What about support for the JED? That's the Joint Economic Development District, being placed on non-residents working in the township. We had 84.4% of the people say yes, they supported that. And then ultimately, what was the perception of the balanced approach, which was, okay, we've made some severe cuts. We recognize the need to spend some of our reserves down. We came up with that plan to get to 2018. 67.2% supported the balanced approach. We did ask the question of whether you're a resident or not, and whether or not you were an employee of the district or the township. And we recognize that may have offended some individuals, and that wasn't our intent. Our intent was to get an understanding of who was filling out the survey so that we could gauge whether or not this survey in any way, shape, or form represented the thoughts of our community. 96.4% of those respondents said yes, they're residents, and 79.2% said they were not township employees. So as I indicated, our Financial Advisory Committee does have these results. They're meeting immediately after this meeting at 7 o'clock this evening to discuss those results, and I do believe they'll be making some sort of a recommendation to the board as it relates to next steps in the adoption of the 2014 tax budget.
Thank you. Okay, citizens address. Pat Compton. Pat Compton. Sure, as long as you're all at the mic when you talk, and if you announce yourselves.
Okay, my name is Pat Compton, and I live on Templeton Drive. And we're all here for your help to help us clean up our street. It looks like the city dump. We have big dump trucks on our street. We have people with lawnmowers service parking on our street that live over in different areas. They don't live around us. And we've had called the police and there's nothing been done yet. And we're asking for your help to clean up our street. Barb?
I'm Barbara Jones. I live across the street from Pat on Templeton. I've had the police at our house, it's my husband Bill behind me, because we've been there for 43 years. They've been there that long. We have several other neighbors that couldn't come tonight, but in the last year and a half, we have a person who's moved in down the street, who my husband will talk about. Across the street from us is next to her is a house where two girls live, early 20s, and supposedly they are renting their garage to a man who runs a lawnmower service, who has 3 trucks with lawnmowers and everything on them. They're taking up all the parking spaces. He comes in at 10:30 at night, running lawnmowers, unloading them off trucks, putting them in this garage. Our street just is, you can't even have company. We can't even put our own cars on the street. We've talked to this guy. I had the police out one night when Bill wasn't home. My other neighbor called, but I went down and talked to him. He was Colerain Township, very nice, and I explained to him what was going on, and he had the guy right there with us saying, you cannot run a business out of that home. You're not allowed in Colerain Township. You get all this crap out of this neighborhood. He said, where do you live? And the guy said, I live over in Fairfield. I live on John Gray Road. He said, then take the junk over there. He said, well, I'm not allowed to have it over there. He said, you're not allowed to have it here anyway. What are you doing in this house? And the guy said, I rent the garage to keep my equipment in. And he said, I don't care. You can't do that in Colerain Township either. Somebody can't rent you something without a permit. And he said, you're not allowed to have a business run out of a home. He said, I want all this stuff out of here. Well, the guy kept arguing with him, and the policeman kept saying, stop. He says, I'm trying to tell you what's going on. So the guy said, okay, I'll take care of it. Well, he moved his truck one day, and it was back the very next day, plus his other truck with all his stuff. Plus, what he was doing was having one truck parked in front of this house, and then when the guys that worked for him would come in the morning, they'd park their cars in those parking spaces, pull the trucks away, so none of us could be on the street. So when they came in at night at 10:30 with their equipment, they'd pull these cars out and pull the trucks in with all this stuff. Well, the night after this happened, when the policeman left, he said, let me know if you have any problems. I walked down to my house. The policeman came around to the side of my house in his car where the guy couldn't see us, and he said, I mean it. Call us if you're having a problem. The very next day, I get up to go to work. I have a brand new car. Whole side of it's egged and keyed. I think $3,000 worth of damage. I have the paperwork in my car. Now, we've been there 40 years. We talk to every kid in the neighborhood, black, white, Chinese. They know us by name. Never have had a problem till this man moved in. I have pictures on my camera of all his equipment all over. And then my husband's going to talk about the guy 3 doors down from him who's been running a business for 2 years in the neighborhood. We just want some help. The police have come out probably as much as I know. Colerain Township's been out there probably at least 4 times. At least 4 times. So I'll let my husband speak.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening.
You're welcome.
William Jones. I lived on Templeton for 40 years. The head of the snake is Section 8 housing. That's when it came to the neighborhood 2 years ago. This guy, give you a little background on him, got kicked out of John Rose out of Section 8 housing. Now he's got a full-fledged business with employees, 2 dump trucks, chippers, everything in our neighborhood, and he only works for cash. He's got better vehicles than me, and I'm paying for his housing. Help.
Sir, this is a different than the lawnmower service. It's a different.
No, this is where it started with him. This is far worse than the lawnmower service. I got to listen to dump trucks idle and their backup alarms. I think I'm living on Rumpke Dump.
I think that's what he's asking though. Is this
This is a
completely
different
separate?
This is 2 doors down from it.
Okay.
Okay, so this is 2 different businesses.
When this came in, it all came in behind it. So we need help. Thank you.
My name's Dan Robinson. I am a landscaper. They're not talking about me. But I've run a business from my house for 6 years, a landscaping business. I store mowers in my shed, but I store my trailers and other equipment elsewhere. You know, I don't bring things home. I don't park equipment in the street. And that's what makes me mad is when I come home, you know, I don't have a place to park because this guy's got his stuff in the street. And if I'm going to abide by the rules, then he should too. The name of that business across the street from us is called Keeping It Green. It's registered in, I don't know if it's Hamilton County or what, but it's in Fairfield on John Gray Road. The other business that they're talking about is Quality One Tree Service. That's the one that's 2 doors down that's run by a Section 8. And like they said, we just want help cleaning the place up because, you know, if you look at my house, you can't tell that I have a business there. I've checked with the SBA, I've checked with all the zoning, all the codes, everything. And, you know, you can't have signage in front of your place. You can't have employees coming and parking their cars there and leaving and so forth. You know, I've checked in all of it. We just want help cleaning the place up.
Thank you.
I have an addition to mine.
Pictures
Thank you.
of all that equipment up and down the street.
Thank you.
This Section 8 housing has no waste service. I've seen him many times grab the Rumpke driver when he comes by, flips him cash, and he got his crew bringing out bag after bag after bag of trash and then throwing it into Rumpke. On top of that, these recycling bins that the city registered to houses in the city, he has 4 of those he uses for waste that he keeps behind his house.
Thank you. Do we have any history on this?
I don't believe so. Have you all spoken with the zoning department? No.
They've dissolved it.
No, they have not.
The enforcement, I guess that falls on Colerain Township now?
No.
No.
I promise they have not. We need to talk. I'll give you my phone number and we'll get it squared away. Okay?
Jeff, if you want to take a minute after, I don't know when your agenda is. You're coming up next.
Yep.
But if after that, if you want to step outside,
Sure.
that's fine.
Sounds good.
Chief, anything you want to add?
No, I was just going to add that's Lieutenant Mark Denny will be, between Jeff and the zoning department and us, we'll spend time with you here. Lieutenant Denny will speak with you, get those addresses, and we'll follow up with that between zoning and the police. We'll go out there and work with you. And that's, I don't want to say it's simple, but we'll certainly be a part of the process for you.
May I ask one question? There was
Come to the microphone, please.
Yeah, step up.
I'm sorry.
We're on Waycross.
this one truck with all the equipment on it, when the officer came and told him he had to move it, and he said, if I see it on the street again, I'm going to mark the tires. It was back there again the next day after the policeman left. Now he's parking a truck 3 doors down the street from us. Some man's letting him put up in his side yard. So now the grass is all torn up at this house. I have all these addresses. Why this guy's letting this guy put his stuff there, but then we came home one day and the tire was marked on that truck again. And it sat there from Thursday before the holiday till after the holiday the following Friday. Nothing was ever done about it. I thought the police officer explained to us that if they mark the tire, if the truck isn't moved, they tow it. And that it sat there almost for 14 days with the tire marked and nothing was done about it. Thank you for listening.
Thank you all for coming. Generally speaking, most businesses can't run in residential when it's against the law. Our team will be on top of this, I can assure you, and if there's a remedy, you'll see it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for your help.
Okay, new business. Fire department. Chief.
Good evening. First item on my business is a pay rate change for Christopher Gooden. He's part-paid firefighter. He goes to the firefighter paramedic rate. It's $15.28 per hour. The effective date is 5/14/13. That requires your action.
Chief, after this vote, I skipped some names. I don't know why I did that. But is there a motion to approve, and I'll jump back into citizens address.
Okay.
So moved.
Yeah. Second.
Mr. Dieters?
Aye.
Ms. Reinhardt?
Aye.
Mr. Ritter?
Aye. I got so into the issues in this neighborhood that I neglected the rest. So back to citizens address. My apologies. Mr. Brandy, I'm sorry.
George Brandy of Sagebrush Lane. After that, it's kind of minor. About 20 years ago, Colerain and Springdale, the only time you would see traffic back up was before Thanksgiving and Christmas. Now, it seems like to be almost every day you have a traffic problem. Why hasn't anybody put up a do not block intersection signs? ODOT should be notified. Maybe they've thought of it already. But I think driving on the left-hand side of I've seen people driving in the wrong lanes getting through that intersection many times. And to have your gateway right in front of the biggest traffic jam, it doesn't look good. Sometimes it goes down further down the road towards Ronald Reagan. Some of the intersections down there could use a little help also. But that's all I have on that issue. The only other little thing I've got is, as you know, that the sewer project on Yellowstone, Sagebrush, Flat Top is done. It's been done now for early spring. There's still traffic cones on the road, on the sidewalks. They're not many, but they're MSD cones. There's a few from a couple of the contractors. People are just leaving them on their front yards. For what reason, I've got no idea. Maybe they expect somebody to come back and pick them up. There might be a dozen at the most, but it just doesn't look good. Granted, it's probably not your position to do anything about it, but I don't know if we go to MSD or go to Titan or whoever did the work to get these things out of there, but
Mr. Brandy, you might remember. Can you remember the name of that person from MSD that was kind of the liaison through the project? That was
Karen Ball, I think it was.
What was her name?
Karen Ball.
Karen, that's it.
Yeah.
She'd probably be the right person, I bet.
Yeah.
Okay, we can do that.
I'll have Mr. Swartzoff troubleshoot that issue. And I did get a call this week from Karen Ball regarding some matter over there, and she was going to talk to Steve Rader. So if you could look into that. Great.
As to the first part of Mr. Brady's question, I don't know if you heard it back there or not, Frank, because I know we've discussed this at some point. He was commenting on Colerain and Springdale about having do not block the intersections. I know we've talked to ODOT within the last year or so, and I don't remember where that all is at this point.
I know we had suggested or requested that they put something up, and I don't recall if they said, no, we're not going to because it's ineffective and we're redoing the intersection in 2014 or 15 at the latest. But I'll follow up and check on that.
It's a cheap fix. Oh, well, it's a cheap, hopeful fix.
Right. But I'll certainly, yeah.
And the only other little thing, bringing back the sewer department, now that we're all getting going, paying the fees and everything else, I just hope that MSD, in their 20-year program that they've got coming up in the future, that they've taken into consideration that when everybody in Hamilton County starts pumping their stuff down the tube, that they got a treatment plant being able to handle it and not sneak a new treatment plant in at the tail end and then stick it to the whole county. People use it or don't use it, they're going to get stuck with paying a tax. That's all I've got.
Thank you. Chief, did you want to add something?
Well, I was going to add that we addressed, there was changes in the timing, if you recall, within the last year, north of Colerain and Springdale. And they were going to come back and reevaluate, and there was a transition of the computer system in that network that needed to be addressed. And there was some internal issues with that, and that had to be recalculated, because we made several complaints all along Colerain, but mostly between Springdale and Struble, because the northern traffic backs up. Next thing you know, it's sitting in the middle of Colerain and Springdale, and you've got all these cars getting stuck here. And there was a facet of it that was they were reviewing as a part of a process, because we get those complaints, and you're not the first one, but we also receive those issues from a police and fire perspective, that nothing like sitting there and having 14 cars you can't get through the intersection for. And we've had those same complaints. And I know, I'm not sure in respect to where they are in the total evaluation of how these lights time out with Stone Creek and all these things, so it all doesn't back up into that one intersection of Colerain and Springdale. But it is something that, I guess the point is, we haven't let it lie. The point that we have as much interest in that cleaning up of that intersection as you do, because it affects so much of what happens in the township, being one of the largest township intersections in the county. So we do push that question forward to our folks at District 8 quite often about what we can do, what can be done next. So just in respect to that, we want to work with you on that one too, because we want a resolution.
Sure. And a major cause of the people that may stay in that intersection and not wait until, go in on the red and stay there is sheer volume of cars on that road at certain periods of time. And I know for a fact that ODOT has studied that, and there's projects in the works to relieve that pressure. That'll do a lot to resolve that issue. I'm hoping that's sooner rather than later, but that's coming.
I'm sorry. Summer of 2014, they're widening both sides of Colerain Avenue. They're redoing the intersections themselves, as well as the lights all along from Struble to Springdale and Colerain. So I did, in the conversation with the chief and myself and ODOT, I know they're doing some things with timing, but as far as the long-term fix, that's summer 2014.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Brandy. Jim Acton.
My name is Jim Acton. I live on Wood Trail. Just a couple comments before we get started here, but the first one is directed to Marie. It's to deal with the personal service agreement, Colerain Township Community Center, and an employee that you hired. If you look at the compensation 3.03, it's not a he, it's a she. And I'm surprised that that wasn't picked up sooner.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Atkin.
You're quite welcome, dear. The other point that I wanted to make, I commend the three of you sitting in front of us for keeping your cool the other day at the town hall meeting. And I think you've done a very successful job of handling the situations that were put forward. There's a lot of issues that you've got to take into account, and I hope that in the near future we will have more town hall meetings so that the residents can come forward and say, this is what we like, this is what we don't like. One point that was made, and it was from Mr. Walterman, I think he said, most of the presentations there were doom presentations, What are we going to do to correct these problems? And that's where I thought, and I still feel that, if it takes a levy to put before the Colerain Township residents to keep these programs going, we've got to talk what size levy and what we can save without eliminating the dooms presentations that we've basically seen last week. Thank you. That's all I've got.
Thank you, sir. Greg Insko, add on.
Thank you. My name is Greg Insko. I got to make this quick because I got to get across the street here. Last time I stood up here on behalf of the people that unfortunately were afraid to speak, and obviously for the kids who I felt were robbed of their summer camp. Again, we bring in tens of millions of dollars, and we don't have $7,000 for a summer camp. My other job in the township is to run the movies in the park, and I do kids karaoke as well. We owe a huge thank you to Darcy Bradley Orthodontics for sponsoring the movies in the park. Otherwise, I'm afraid those have been taken away too. I've run the movies for about 200 to 300 kids on Fridays throughout the summer. I'm the only one that's done this since the amphitheater was built a decade ago. I was told I was the only one that knew how to run the equipment, and I'm by far the most qualified. Despite being laid off from summer camp, I was told I'd be officially rehired at the next trustee meeting, but right after I spoke out and said I was running for trustee, I found out I no longer had that job either. Unfortunately, that is political bullying at its finest. I absolutely never realized how mean and cynical politics are, but at the same time, I'm truly humbled by all the support I've got. Hopefully we can get past all the politics to make Colerain an even better place to live. If you want to see the kind of fun and excitement I bring to the township, I would strongly encourage you to come next door and do some Zumba with me. Other than that, I love you, Colerain, and have a good night, everyone. Thank you.
Okay, back on the regular agenda, Mr. Mills will jump into the Moving Ohio Forward information.
Thank you, Mr. Dieters. I just wanted to give the board a brief update on where we're at with the Moving Ohio Forward. As of today, 6 properties on the list have been demolished, 3 by the township, 3 by owners, after having been served notice that we were intending to demolish the structures. They've done it themselves. 9 properties have demolition contracts awarded. We're currently waiting on the environmental assessments to be completed on those 9 properties. 3 properties are under appeal. 1 property is currently protected through a court-ordered stay pending bankruptcy, and 11 properties are moving into the environmental assessment and RFP phase. So working backwards here on the slide, got 6 properties in the demolition. This is where the demolitions are scheduled. Actually, these are all awarded contracts, and we're waiting on the environmental assessment here. These are the 11 properties that are moving into the environmental assessment phase. And we're continuing to identify properties throughout the township that are in very, very bad states of disrepair. And if we feel that there's going to be money available, we'll bring those through the process starting in July or August.
Thank you. Okay, Chief Smith, your second item. I apologize for being out of order twice.
No problem, thank you. My second item is the request to request the following individuals to be hired as part-paid firefighter paramedics with a 1-year probationary period at the pay rate of $15.28 per hour. I'm going to read down the list. Number 2 and number 5 are at least temporarily off the list, so you'll see me skip those, but I'll read the names of the individuals. Andrew Flannery, Ray Helton, Stephen Hensley, Stephen Moore, Andrew Mott, Timothy Newman, Matthew Noble, Nicholas Nolan, Joseph Plackey, Daniel Sanders, Shane Schnell, Matthew Silvati, Zachary Smith, Matthew Wallace, Kristen Ward, Ethan Watron, and Daniel Werner. Now, I'm asking you to hire these conditional that we finish up some of the aspects of their process, the MVR checks and some other things like that. But it does require your action, and I'm asking that they be approved tonight, condition upon those final items.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Peters?
Aye.
Ms. Weinhardt?
Aye.
Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
Thank you. My next item is the acceptance of some donations. The first is Sandra Holt in the amount of $50. Second is Mary Shalott in the amount of $50. And the third is from Kathleen Kirk, the amount of $20, and that requires your action.
Make the motion.
Second.
Mr. Dieters?
Aye.
Ms. Reinhardt?
Aye.
Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
And if I might have just a few more seconds here, I just wanted to let the board know that on the 5th anniversary of the loss of our firefighters, Mr. Robert Clifford, you know him as one of the business owners of the township, sent us a very beautiful elegy on our firemen. It includes a photo that he took that day of the procession for the funeral and his own poem that reflects his thoughts on that day. It's well done, and we'll see if we can get it on the website, but I just wanted to publicly thank him for his thoughts.
That's a really kind gesture. Could you draft a thank you letter from the board, and we'll all sign it? I think
Yes.
that would be a nice gesture. That's a really above and beyond kind thing to do.
It was very thoughtful, and I'll also provide copies of that to the board.
Thank you. Thanks, Chief.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Chief Malloy.
It's just an information item. I thought it was appropriate. It's been a year now since we initiated the process of identifying quality officers for the Reserve Corps. And just as an overview, just to get an idea what kind of value, what kind of work they've done. Since May of 2012, our Reserve Officer Corps worked a total of 10,428 hours. They worked another 585 hours working inside the clerk's office. So that's almost 11,000 hours of service. That's almost the value of 6 full-time police officers. And while we have the partnership with Northgate Mall that allows them an opportunity to earn a stipend, the things that they do for us working on the streets are done at no cost. So roughly their expense to the police department for those 11,000 hours was about $57,000. That's less than $5.70 an hour. And, we currently have 9 members. One officer spending as a retired officer that returned, spent a lot of time initially when we created this, working the mall, working on patrol. He's taken on the responsibility of working at our impound lot. The impound lot since November 20th of last year has generated $141,000 in revenue. That's not the profit side. We've profited close to $60,000 just in that time period working the impound lot. So he's kind of doing that. It's become his specialty while the other folks are spending their time working the road, working the mall, providing the services to our residents. I just think there's good people out there. The work is trying to find them and identify them, and we have another test this week with 5 more folks. It's about a 500-hour training process. They take a final exam of 136 questions to earn the right to be released to solo patrol. They take about 40 quizzes during their FTO to prove that they understand what the policy is and the operational work is. We found good people, and we're striving to find additional, and they're proving out to be tremendous value for what they're doing for us, and I thought it was important for you to have a knowledge of what they've done for us in the last year. So,
thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Mr. Schwartzoff, Taste of Colerain update.
Thank you. I'm just going to update the board on what's going to be happening on August 9th and 10th at our Taste of Colerain this year. On Friday night, our headline band is the Websters, and on Saturday night, we're bringing back the Rusty Griswolds as our headline band. Each night, we'll have about a 6 to 8 minute fireworks show. We'll kind of be almost a grand finale type show each evening. Thanks to Rick Niehaus and his crew, all we have to do is purchase the fireworks, and they provide the service and labor for free. We're putting up the tents on August 6th this year. The stage lights and the sound contractors are under contract. We've sent out 36 participant letters to restaurants. We've received back 14 so far committed. We have about 5 restaurants who have not committed yet because they really like the extra day and Sunday, so they're not sure yet if they're coming back or not. We're having a restaurant coordinators meeting with the health department on July 23rd. And sponsorship-wise, last year we brought in about $19,300 in sponsorships. This year, because some of the people that usually sponsored for the 4th have committed now to the taste, our sponsorships is at $36,100. That's it.
Thank you. Ms. Springer?
Thank you. I have 3 independent service contracts for approval, which would be effective 6/12 of 2013. Bridget Bauman, bartender and also sub-event coordinator at $14 an hour with the correction to the contract as noted. Linda Schneider-Houghton, an arts instructor, $42 for a jewelry class and $100 for clay, ceramics, and porcelain. And Linda Lee Snyder as a sub-meal services coordinator at $12 an hour.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Peters?
Aye.
Ms. Reinhardt?
Aye.
Ms. Ritter?
Aye.
Thank you. I wanted to also give an update on the community center and the 50 plus. We had the May 1st separation of the 2 sides. Additional programming and rental opportunities were made available with the splitting of the facility. The community center can now serve all age groups. In May, we were able to offer youth karate classes in partnership with Nishimi Family Karate. We presently have 30 participants registered for the next session, which begins Thursday night. The center was also pleased to offer Bricks for Kids Lego mini camps this summer. Presently, we have 78 children enrolled, and we're still taking interest in that. It's been so great that we had to add on more classes to accommodate the waiting lists. On the teen adult programming, the center added drop-in hip-hop dance classes, along with our current programming of yoga, Pilates, Tai Chi, FitBod's personal training, Zumba, Zumba Gold, and Zumba toning. We recently added Team Jeff line dancing, which draws 50 participants every time, and we've added an additional night on the schedule due to demand to accommodate that. We've also offered a Friday night line dance party with cash bar services now, and are expecting another 50 for the full moon yoga and gong meditation event. Our program participation numbers speak for the demand and the quality and the delivery format of our services. The move for separation in order to increase income generation is being proven with great success. In addition, I feel this is a form of shared services with area businesses where we are both served. As an event hall, the community center has also proven generation, especially with our beverage service packages now. Our marketing efforts are bringing in brides and other rental opportunities. We've reassigned and updated areas, and we can also now offer a bridal dressing room lounge in addition. The more people we bring into that building for programming, the more people see it for rental opportunities. A new programming addition on the 50 plus side is called Flex, and that is a program of silver sneakers. Those members of ours who are 65 and up may take the class for free with certain health insurance providers, which cover the cost. The Flex provides the instructor as well as the exercise equipment. Also, our members at the center have been benefiting greatly from the City on the Hill Church, which has been delivering weekly truckloads of fresh produce and breads through one of our members. Our 50 plus art class participants also recently completed an enameled metal sculpture piece entitled Connection, which will be featured in an enameling magazine. So I just wanted to give you a quick overview of many positive additions just in the last 30 days next door.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say something really quick to Marie. First, I think you've done a fantastic job at bringing in revenue at the community center. But more importantly, there were a lot of comments made last week about the code of conduct and about members feeling like they were being talked down to or discriminated against or things of that nature. And you and I talked after that meeting. you didn't decide to put the code of conduct into force just willy-nilly. While those members that were there that night might behave themselves, there were problems at the community center with conduct. And that's why that code came into place.
Absolutely.
Correct?
There's always a situation, that may have arisen, and many of those members, may have or did not know about that situation. Right. And, we're just trying to avoid, something that could get out of hand and escalate and be able to deal with it with a policy in place.
And essentially, you're trying to keep everyone safe and having everyone have a good quality experience at the senior center by having conduct rules.
Absolutely.
That's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Marie. Mr. Mills, back to you.
Thanks. This evening I have a nuisance abatement resolution. The month of June we'll have 43 tall grass nuisance abatements. The map is on the screen, and it's hard to fit that many properties on one slide. But there's my effort there. So my first request is for the approval of the monthly nuisance abatement resolution.
Is your motion?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Peters?
Aye.
Ms. Reinhardt?
Aye.
Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
Okay, my second request this evening is for a public hearing on a major modification to the final development plan for Stone Creek Town Center. I'd like to set that public hearing for the July 9th, 2013 trustees meeting.
We need to. So moved.
Hold on one
Oh,
second.
wait.
We're looking at a possible date change for that meeting, so I believe we're going to be shooting for July the 1st.
Okay.
Now, the thing we're going to have to work through is whether or not we can still meet the statute as far as the legal notification, since that meeting date's going to potentially change.
I actually, I think that we submitted it to the, yeah, I think we're fine. Yep.
So we'll check on that, but July 1st may be the rescheduled date for the regular meeting in July.
Very good.
We'll confirm that tomorrow to make sure that that's not going to cause any issues with this.
Okay. So should we have a motion to, okay. So what I'm asking the trustees for now is a request for a public hearing on a major modification to the final development plan for Stone Creek Town Center on July 1st,
Yes.
2013. Thanks.
So moved.
Second.
Peters?
Aye.
Ms. Reinhardt?
Aye.
Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. The next three items are related, and I'd like to talk about them sort of together.
Sure.
When I came to the township, it didn't take very long doing the work that we do in our department to see that vacant foreclosed properties are hurting our neighborhoods. And recent data that's been released by an organization called Working in Neighborhoods suggests that the pace of foreclosures is increasing in Colerain Township. As these homeowners are being foreclosed on, they're walking away from their homes, they're leaving behind vacant structures that have a blighting impact on adjacent properties, on surrounding neighborhoods, and on the township as a whole. Locating the person in control or responsible for these properties has proven to be an impossible task. Once somebody walks away, they believe that the bank owns their property. And when you contact the bank, they say, no, we haven't taken title yet. There's this limbo that exists. And what's coming out of that is tall weeds and grass, gutters falling off, windows being broken out, properties ending up on our Moving Ohio Forward demolition list. According to Working in Neighborhoods, in 2012, Colerain Township had the highest number of completed foreclosures in all of Hamilton County municipalities outside of the city of Cincinnati. The number of foreclosures in 2012 was actually the highest since 2008. So we're not out of the weeds yet. The turnaround in the housing market hasn't taken hold here just yet, and folks that I've talked to believe that it's going to continue until 2016. So there's a need to deal with vacant foreclosed homes. I believe that we need to be proactive instead of reactive on this issue, because I've seen how it eats away at communities, at neighborhoods. When people invest so much in their homes and their neighborhoods, only to see one house bring down property values and eat up so many of our township resources. So for these reasons and others that I detailed in your trustee packet, I'm recommending the approval of three resolutions. The first resolution deals with an amendment to our property maintenance code that would allow me to hold the person in control of the property responsible for the property in addition to the owner. Right now, I'm kind of hamstrung in my enforcement efforts because I can only go after the owner, and where is the owner? So that's my first recommendation. My second recommendation is for a vacant foreclosure registry law. What this law does is it forces a mortgagee, a bank, to contact me and let me know when their property is vacant, when they've foreclosed on it. So they tell me the address, they establish the person in control, and I go out or a staff of mine go out and make sure that it's up to very minimal standards. What I'm trying to do with this is to make sure that as we're driving down our roads, streets, in our neighborhoods, there aren't any outward signs of these foreclosed buildings. So to be honest with you, I'm tired of seeing boarded up windows. I want the windows fixed. I'm tired of seeing gutters falling off. I want the gutters on, just like everybody else in this room does. Those are the types of things that this vacant foreclosed property registration resolution will deal with. These will deal with properties that are foreclosed from this point forward. But that doesn't solve the whole problem. There's already a number of vacant buildings in our township that are already vacant. To deal with these issues, I'm recommending the approval of a vacant building maintenance license program, which would require the owner or person in control of a vacant building, whether it's residential or commercial, to license that property. And to get that license, you need to meet a higher standard of property maintenance. Still not what you or I, the way we would take care of our properties, but a higher level of maintenance than we're seeing right now. It would also establish a progressively increasing fee schedule based on the amount of time that property is vacant. What we're trying to do here is encourage people to transfer those vacant homes to occupancy. If it's owned by an estate, if it's owned by a bank, if it's owned by just a person that is MIA, what we're trying to do is to internalize the costs that they are effectively externalizing on you and me in the form of lower property values and higher taxes because we have to spend so much of our time dealing with these blight causing vacant properties. So I think taken as a group, these three properties represent the next step in what we started with the Moving Ohio Forward. What we started with the Moving Ohio Forward was the elimination of the worst blighted buildings in Colerain Township. But it's clear to me that we're not going to demolish our way out of this foreclosure crisis. That's not wise. I wouldn't recommend that, and it's not possible. But what we can do is start to be proactive about dealing with these vacant buildings, and in particular vacant foreclosed buildings, and I think that we can make a real difference.
Great. So the first resolution establishing a vacant foreclosed property registration program, is there a motion to approve that resolution?
Moved.
Second.
Peters?
Aye.
Ms. Reinhardt?
Aye.
Aye.
Here is
Is there a motion to approve the resolution establishing a vacant building maintenance license program?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Peters?
Aye.
Ms. Reinhardt?
Aye.
Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
And last, is there a resolution amending the property maintenance code?
So moved.
Second.
Peters?
Aye.
Ms. Reinhardt?
Aye.
Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
Thank you.
And I got so caught up in my words, I forgot to show the pictures. This is the bar chart representing a number of foreclosures over time from 2006 to 2012. You can see in 2012 we had 311 foreclosures in Colerain Township. In 2008, probably the peak of the Great Recession, right? 315 properties were foreclosed on in the township. 98% of these properties are residential properties. If you look at how they're distributed throughout the township, you can see a strong bias towards the east side of the township, but that's to be expected. There's a lot of density in the east side of the township. You would expect to see more. But anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mills. I think I speak for the board in saying that your efforts in this front are tremendous. for the people watching on Waycross, this is Mr. Mills, Ms. Springer, the rest of our department heads. This is the way we are now. Proactivity instead of reactivity. That's new. That's the new way of leadership in Colerain Township, and I think it's represented in this problem, which frankly has been an issue as long as I've been on the board for decades. And I think this is going to actually get us ahead of the curve on it. There's hope there. So I'm tremendously pleased with your progress on this and your creativity. Mr. Rowan.
Yes, Mr. Dieters, members of the board. Dennis, you took the words right out of my mouth. I really can't commend the team enough for the leadership and the innovation that they have all exercised in some facet of their department in trying to move the township forward, and I applaud all their efforts. You've heard a number of demonstrations this evening on steps to move forward and striking that ultimate balance between being innovative and really reducing our programs and services, and I do commend all of you for a great job. Thank you. I have actually 6 items. One item came in late today, but my first item would be approval of a tax budget hearing to be held at 5:30 or as part of the regular meeting agenda on July 1st, 2013 in trustee chambers.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second. Aye.
Ms. Reinhardt?
Aye.
Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
Second item is approval of the following transfers for purposes of debt service. All these transfers go from the general fund into the respective debt fund to retire the debt for 2013, into our government building debt in the amount of $109,387.50, our parks debt $304,961.26, public works debt $211,342.50, Clippard Park debt $213,400. Our streetscape debt, $180,900, and our fire debt at $245,091.24. Once again, these are all transfers from the general fund and/or the fire fund, in the case of the fire department, into the debt service fund for purposes of retiring debt. So the last item there needs to be clarified. That fund number is actually 2111 rather than 1000 to retire the debt service for the fire.
Make the motion.
Second.
Aye.
Ms. Reinhardt?
Aye.
Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
The next 3 items I have deal with changes to our medical program, our health, our dental, and our group life insurance. We engaged the Highland Group as our broker this year through a broker record letter, and we've been seeking an alternative to our health care program in an effort to drive down our cost. We are currently part of the Center for Local Government pool, which currently we're carrying about a $430,000 unfunded liability from the way the fund was established. That liability we have to take with us. However, we received some very successful market results that are going to allow us, based on the trend that we're seeing with the CLG over the next 2 years, a net savings as much as $265,000 by making this transition change. I'm recommending that we transition to Humana, fully insured program. The benefit levels will remain the same as they currently are. It comes with a phenomenal wellness opportunity for our employees, in which we will attempt to engage them to the highest level of wellness. And I would like to recommend that we transition that health insurance program effective August 1, 2013, and authorize the administrator to approve any related agreements subject to approval by legal counsel.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Dieters?
Aye.
Ms. Reinhardt?
Aye.
Aye.
The next item is dental insurance. The same market analysis showed that a savings could be achieved by transitioning to Superior Dental. Very similar network of dentists. The component that makes Superior more attractive than our current program with Dental Care Plus is that there's an actual out-of-network benefit, so that if you go to a doctor not on the plan, you still have coverage. So once again, savings is going to be achieved by transitioning to Superior Dental. I would recommend that change effective August 1st, 2013, authorizing the administrator to approve related agreements subject to approval by legal counsel.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Dieters?
Aye.
Ms. Reinhardt?
Aye.
Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
The third item is a recommend approval of a township's group life insurance program to standard. We're currently with Reliance effective August 1st, 2013, authorizing the administrator to approve related agreements subject to approval by legal counsel. The purpose for moving this insurance is not necessarily a savings. It's actually the same cost if we were to stay with Reliance. The benefit is to our public safety officials in that there is a line of duty rider that provides double the benefit in the event something should happen in the line of duty. And I believe that's in the best interest of our employees and would recommend approval of that as well.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Peters?
Aye.
Ms. Reinhardt?
Aye.
Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
And my final item is, as we continue to search for a technology solution in the absence of our tech director, his contract expired on June the 1st. We continue to manage our way through this technology crisis by not having someone here every day, but I would like to recommend that we extend Josh Campbell's contract effective June 1st, 2013 to August 1st, 2013 at the $75 an hour rate to give us more time to find the right solution for the township.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Peters?
Aye.
Ms. Reinhardt?
Aye.
Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rowan. Mrs. Harlow.
Good evening. I'd like to ask for the board's usual approval of payroll, purchase orders, and receipts.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Dieters?
Aye.
Ms. Reinhardt?
Aye.
Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
I'd like to remind folks that financial reports are available for viewing out on the township's website. All of the monthly reports are out there. If you have a specific request for a document, you can certainly give me a call or drop me an email to receive that information. I had emailed the board about this. The Ohio Police and Fire Pension Fund has changed some of their procedures and also has changed the employees' contributions. So we are doing nothing different. It is going to cost us nothing more. But since they have changed their procedures and as I said, the mandatory contributions by the employees, we need to amend the resolution that we passed in 2005. Now, I know this has the scary word of pickup in it, and it is not a pickup in the fact that we are paying for theirs. It is the fact that it is pickup in that it is a pre-tax contribution to the fund. So, therefore, I'd like to ask for the board's approval of a resolution, existing pickup plan, restated resolution of the Colerain Township Board of Trustees.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I'm sorry, was there any questions about that?
I read the email you sent us.
Okay, great. Mr. Dieters?
Aye.
Ms. Reinhardt?
Aye.
Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
Thank you. Here's a copy of the resolution for your signature. I also received word from the Ohio Division of Liquor Control about a request for a new permit for Dolgan Midwest LLC, DBA Dollar General Store, 14293, at the address of 9529 Pippin Road, Cincinnati, Ohio, 45231. I did speak with both Mr. Mills and Chief Malloy about this, and neither see the need for a hearing. If the board agrees, we'll go ahead and send back the paperwork to them.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Harlow. Any further business before the board?
None.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Dieters?
Aye.
Ms. Reinhardt?
Aye.
Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
Have a good night.
Thank you.